The CEO and the Compassionate Stranger, a corporate love story. Get ready for a captivating story about integrity, unexpected turns, and how a single act of kindness can rewrite a destiny. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and tell me in the comments, have you ever witnessed someone choose integrity over personal gain? Part 1. A fateful encounter. Camilla Hayes opened her eyes at 5 in the morning, the neighbor's alarm piercing through the thin walls of her building. She didn't own a clock herself, nor did she need one. After 3 years living on the 3rd floor of the Oakwood Flats in East London, she knew every sound that marked the hours. She rose from her mattress on the floor and prepared instant coffee with lukewarm water. The gas had run out last week, and she couldn't afford to refill it. She ate cold toast she'd saved from dinner and checked her modest interview attire. At 27, she had been meticulously preparing for this day. After 5 years of studying business administration by night, while working as a waitress during the day, she finally had the opportunity she had been waiting for: an interview at Sterling Enterprises, one of the most prestigious companies in the city. Her small apartment reflected her sacrifices: inherited furniture, bare walls, and a kitchen with only the bare essentials. But every penny saved had gone towards her education. The dark circles under her eyes told the story of countless nights studying after exhausting shifts, of weekends lost preparing for exams, of holidays she never took. Meanwhile, on the 40th floor of a gleaming skyscraper in the Canary Wharf Financial District, Samuel Thorne reviewed complex documents in his office overlooking the city. His bespoke Italian suit and collector's watch were just small details of a privileged life. Employees passing his office looked at him with a mixture of respect and fear. At 38, he had transformed the family business into a formidable empire, but few truly knew the man behind the relentless success. In the reception area of Sterling Enterprises, Arthur Evans, the head of human resources, meticulously organized the day's interviews. His practiced smile concealed a chilling, calculating coldness. When he saw the name Camilla Hayes on the list, his expression subtly shifted. He remembered the woman who had left him 3 years ago, when he was just an assistant, and she was a driven student with ambitious dreams. Camilla took the tube, clutching her resume folder tightly against her chest. She observed her reflection in the grimy window, a young woman of 27, with unwavering determination in her eyes and a dream she was fiercely determined to fulfill. She didn't know that day fate had other plans. It wasn't just an interview that awaited her, but a series of unexpected events that would irrevocably change her life forever. As she exited the station, she checked her watch. She had plenty of time to arrive early. The Sterling Enterprises building loomed before her like a giant of glass and steel, starkly different from the humble places she had worked before. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, completely unaware that she was about to enter a world where second chances often arrive in the most unexpected forms. Part 2. A timely intervention. Camilla walked with a determined stride down the bustling main avenue, mentally rehearsing the answers she had prepared for the interview. The morning sun gleamed off the corporate buildings, and she felt closer than ever to achieving her long-held dreams. She was just 15 minutes early for her appointment when she heard a dull thud, followed by a sharp groan of pain. A few meters away, a middle-aged man lay on the pavement, clutching his arm with a grimace of agony. His briefcase had fallen, scattering important documents across the concrete. Passers-by hurried past, some glancing nervously, but no one stopping to help. Camilla looked at her watch, then back at the injured man. Her heart pounded as internal conflict consumed her. The interview, her one big opportunity, was just a few blocks away, but the stranger's pained groan made her stop dead.
"Are you all right, sir?"
she asked, approaching and kneeling beside him, her voice filled with genuine concern. "My arm. I think I hurt it when I fell," the man replied, his face pale with pain. Despite his expensive suit and elegant demeanor, in that moment, he seemed vulnerable and desperately in need of help. Camilla looked at her watch again. 12 minutes. Her mind screamed at her to keep going, that this was her only chance, but her heart wouldn't let her abandon someone who clearly needed help. "I'm going to call a taxi and take you to the nearest clinic," she finally said, quickly gathering the scattered documents, her movements efficient. The man tried to protest, but the pain was evident in his eyes. Camilla managed to hail a taxi in less than a minute and helped the stranger inside. During the ride, she noticed the man was breathing with difficulty, his pain growing. "The St. Jude's clinic is 5 minutes away," she told the taxi driver, remembering the medical center she had seen on her way. At the clinic, Camilla made sure the man was attended to immediately. When she saw him being led into the emergency room by a nurse, she looked at her watch one last time. She was already 5 minutes late. With no time to spare, she rushed out of the clinic, her heels echoing against the pavement as she sprinted towards Sterling Enterprises. Sweat began to bead on her forehead, and her hair, once perfectly neat, had become disheveled from the frantic run. She arrived at the imposing building, panting, acutely aware that her appearance was no longer ideal for a professional interview. But something deep inside her told her she had done the right thing, even if it might cost her dream opportunity. What Camilla didn't know was that the man she had just helped held a very special connection to her future, a connection that would irrevocably change the course of her professional life forever. What do you think will happen when Camilla arrives at the interview? Will her kindness be recognized, or will she face the consequences of being late? Share your predictions below. Part 3. A calculated humiliation. The lobby of Sterling Enterprises gleamed with its polished marble floors and towering glass walls. Camilla rushed towards the reception desk, trying to catch her breath and smooth down her hair at the same time. The receptionist looked at her with a mix of annoyance and curiosity. "I'm here for my interview," Camilla said, trying to maintain her composure, though her voice was still a little breathless. "My name is Camilla Hayes." "You're late," the receptionist replied curtly, her eyes unblinking. "Mr. Evans is waiting for you on the 20th floor." The lift seemed to take an eternity. When the doors finally opened on the 20th floor, Camilla found herself in a vast office filled with cubicles where dozens of employees worked diligently. At the far end, in a corner office with glass walls, she could see Arthur Evans. Her heart lurched as she recognized him. He had changed since she last saw him 3 years ago. Now he wore expensive suits, and his posture exuded authority and a new, unsettling arrogance. Their eyes met through the glass, and the smirk that spread across his face sent a shiver down Camilla's spine. "Well, well, Camilla Hayes," Arthur said, his voice loud enough for nearby employees to overhear, as she hesitantly entered his office. 7 minutes late. Some habits never change, do they? Camilla felt the gazes of the employees pierce her, their whispers beginning to rise. "Arthur, there was an emergency on the way, if you'll allow me to explain." "Explain what? How you're still the same irresponsible person you always were?" He interrupted with a malicious smile, a cruel gleam in his eyes. "The same one who stood up her boyfriend for an important dinner 3 years ago?" Murmurs began to fill the office, turning into hushed chuckles. Camilla felt her cheeks burn with humiliation. "That has nothing to do with this interview." "On the contrary, it has everything to do with it," Arthur retorted, leaning back in his chair, visibly enjoying her discomfort. "It demonstrates a pattern of behavior. If you can't be punctual for an interview, how do you expect me to take you seriously as a professional?" Some barely suppressed giggles were heard from the cubicles. Camilla clenched her fists, fighting desperately to maintain her composure, to keep the tears at bay. "Punctuality is just the first basic requirement you've failed to meet," Arthur continued, his voice dripping with venom, savoring every word. "And look at you. You didn't even bother to maintain a proper professional appearance. You're disheveled." Camilla tried to explain again about the injured man, about her act of kindness, but Arthur raised a dismissive hand to silence her. "I'm not interested in your excuses. The position has already been filled," he lied brazenly, a triumphant gleam in his eyes. "Perhaps you should look for something more, in line with your capabilities. Maybe the coffee shop down the street is hiring?" The laughter was no longer disguised. It echoed cruelly through the office. Camilla felt tears threaten to well up, but she held firm, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. Without saying another word, she turned and walked out of the office, her head held high, though inside, she felt her world crumbling around her. Part 4. Justice in the Making. At St. Jude's Clinic, Samuel Thorne sat in an examination room, observing the X-rays of his arm. Fortunately, it was just a severe contusion, nothing broken. As the doctor applied a bandage, his mind returned to the young woman who had helped him, wondering why she had left in such a hurry. "Mr. Thorne, you should rest for the remainder of the day," the doctor suggested, but Samuel was already reaching for his phone with his free hand. "Mark, I need you to check the building's security cameras," he ordered his head of security, his voice sharp with urgency. "Specifically, the reception area during the last 2 hours. Look for something unusual." While he waited in his temporary office at the clinic, his assistant brought him a tablet displaying the security footage. Samuel watched intently until he saw her, the same young woman who had helped him, now being publicly humiliated by Arthur Evans, his head of human resources. "Who is she?" he asked his assistant, his voice tight with growing anger. "Camilla Hayes, sir. She was scheduled for an interview this morning." Samuel frowned, his jaw tightening as he continued to watch the recording. The way Arthur had treated her churned his stomach. Worse still, he recognized in the young woman's face the same quiet determination she had shown when helping him, now fighting desperately to maintain her dignity under cruel scrutiny. "I want her complete file on my desk in 1 hour," he ordered, his voice steely. "And schedule a meeting with human resources for first thing tomorrow morning." As he reviewed Camilla's resume, the pieces began to click into place. Excellent grades, impeccable references, years of working while studying. The exact kind of person his company needed. "I also want to know everything about the relationship between Evans and her," he added, noticing something in Arthur's demeanor that seemed deeply personal, beyond mere professional disdain. The next few hours were spent meticulously investigating. Every new detail he discovered about Camilla impressed him more. Her persistence, her unwavering work ethic, her incredible capacity for sacrifice. And now, her selfless act of kindness towards a complete stranger had cost her a crucial opportunity. "Find her number," he finally ordered his assistant, "and prepare a contract." As he gazed out of the clinic window, Samuel smiled faintly. In his years leading the company, he had learned to recognize true talent, to spot potential that others overlooked. But more importantly, he had learned to value integrity above all else. "Sometimes destiny has curious ways of putting us in front of the right people," he murmured to himself, a wry amusement in his voice as his assistant handed him Camilla's phone number. He took out his mobile and began to dial. It was time to correct an injustice and, perhaps, change the course of 2 lives in the process. What do you think of Samuel's decision to intervene? Is he acting out of pure justice, or is there something more? Share your thoughts below. Part 5. An offer and a condition. Camilla sat at her small kitchen table with a cup of cold coffee in front of her. She had spent the entire night updating her resume and sending it to other companies, trying desperately not to dwell on the crushing humiliation of the previous day. The sudden ring of her phone startled her. "Miss Hayes?" A formal voice sounded on the other end. "I'm calling on behalf of Mr. Samuel Thorne, CEO of Sterling Enterprises. He would like to meet with you this morning." Camilla almost dropped the phone. "The CEO? There must be a mistake." "There's no mistake. A car will pick you up in 30 minutes. Can you provide your address?" Stunned, Camilla gave the details. Half an hour later, an elegant black car pulled up in front of her building. During the drive, her mind raced, trying to comprehend what the CEO could possibly want with her. The driver took her directly to the 40th floor. As she exited the lift, Camilla found herself in a luxurious reception area, vastly different from the floor where she had faced Arthur the day before. An assistant guided her to a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows, and there, standing by the window, was the man she had helped. "Miss Hayes," Samuel smiled, his bandaged arm subtly visible under his suit jacket. "Or should I say, my guardian angel." Camilla was speechless, utterly bewildered. You are—" "The man you helped yesterday, yes, and also the owner of this company." He approached, extending his uninjured hand. "Please, have a seat. We have a lot to discuss." During the next hour, Samuel calmly explained how he had discovered everything that had happened with Arthur. He showed her her resume on his desk and began to ask her insightful questions about her experiences, her career goals, her vision for effective teamwork. "Yesterday you lost your interview because you chose to help a stranger," he said finally, his gaze unwavering. "That kind of character isn't easily found in the corporate world." He pulled out a folder and slid it across the polished desk towards her. "I'm offering you a position on my direct team, Special Projects Analyst." Camilla opened the folder with trembling hands. The salary was 3 times more than she had ever expected to earn, a life-changing sum. "Mr. Thorne, this is too much. I don't want you to think you owe me anything for helping you." Samuel leaned back in his chair, a slight smile on his lips. "I'm not offering you this out of gratitude, Camilla. I'm offering it because yesterday you demonstrated exactly the kind of person I need on my team. Someone who puts values above personal gain. Someone with unwavering integrity." He leaned forward, his gaze intense. "Are you ready for the challenge, Camilla?" Camilla looked at the contract, then at Samuel. For the first time since yesterday, a genuine, radiant smile spread across her face. "What do you think of Samuel's job offer? Is it a fair opportunity, or does it still carry the weight of their first encounter? Share your thoughts below." Camilla spent the night awake, staring at the contract on her table. The offer was incredible, a dream come true, but something deeply unsettled her. She rose and began to pace her small apartment, pondering the complex implications. In the morning, she called her best friend, Sarah. "Are you mad?" Sarah exclaimed over the phone. "It's the opportunity of a lifetime." "I know, but what if people think I got the job just because I helped him? What if I'm not good enough?" "Cam, you've worked too hard to let self-doubt win. Who cares what people say? You've earned this." Sarah's words resonated in her mind as she returned to Sterling Enterprises. This time, the towering building didn't seem so intimidating. It felt like a new beginning. Samuel greeted her in his office, offering her a fresh cup of coffee. "Have you made a decision?" he asked, observing her intently. Camilla took a deep breath. "Before I answer, I need to be completely honest, Mr. Thorne. I don't want to be known as the girl who got the job because she helped the boss. I want to earn my place here, on my own merit." Samuel smiled, a knowing, almost approving smile, as if he had been expecting that exact response. "That's precisely why I want you on my team, Camilla. Your integrity is truly refreshing. It's a rare quality." He stood and walked to the window, gazing at the sprawling city. "I propose something. A 3-month trial period. No favoritism, no special treatment. Prove your worth, and the position will be yours permanently. And if I fail? Then we'll part ways as professionals, Camilla, he replied, his voice calm, but something tells me that won't happen. Camilla looked at the contract once more. Her years of study, her countless sacrifices, her unwavering dreams. Everything had meticulously prepared her for this very moment. I accept, she said firmly, taking the pen. Excellent, Samuel responded, his voice filled with quiet satisfaction. You'll start tomorrow. Your office is on the 38th floor, near the Special Projects area. As she signed, Camilla felt a mixture of exhilarating excitement and nervous anticipation. She knew the path wouldn't be easy, especially with Arthur still in the company, but she was fiercely determined to prove her worth, to rise above the challenges. One last thing, Samuel added as she stood up, his gaze holding hers. Don't let anyone make you doubt why you're here. I chose you for your capability, not out of gratitude. Remember that. Camilla felt grateful for the profound trust he placed in her. As she left the office, a confident smile spread across her lips. For the first time in a long time, she felt she could truly be both a professional and a woman, without having to sacrifice one for the other. The sun was setting over the city, and with it, a chapter of her life closed, while another, more promising, began to be written. Part 6. The shadows of jealousy. Camilla's first day at Sterling Enterprises began with curious stares and barely disguised whispers. As Samuel's assistant guided her towards her new office, she could hear the comments behind her back. That's the new boss's protege, one woman murmured to her colleague as they passed. Her office was small but elegant, with a partial view of the bustling city. She had barely finished settling her belongings when Arthur appeared at her door, his smile not reaching his cold, calculating eyes. Well, Camilla Hayes. Looks like some people have more luck than talent, he said, leaning against the doorframe, his voice dripping with sarcasm. How does it feel to be Thorne's new pet? Camilla maintained her composure, her gaze steady. If you have any professional matter to discuss, Mr. Evans, I'm available. If not, I have work to do. Oh, I certainly have matters to discuss. As head of human resources, I must ensure that all employees meet the company's standards. His tone distilled venom, each word a poison. During lunch, Camilla noticed that no one sat at her table in the cafeteria. Groups of employees watched her, whispering, some even giggling discreetly. Don't mind them, a kind voice said. An older woman sat opposite her. I'm Brenda, from the accounting department. I've been here 20 years, and I've seen many corporate dramas. Thank you, Camilla responded, grateful for the friendly gesture. Is it always like this? People fear what they don't understand, and Arthur has made sure to spread his own versions of your arrival. In the afternoon, during her first team meeting, Camilla presented some innovative ideas for the ongoing project. Although several colleagues seemed impressed, others exchanged skeptical glances. Interesting ideas? One of the managers said condescendingly. But perhaps you should familiarize yourself more with how things work here before suggesting changes. At the end of the day, as she packed up her things, Samuel passed by her office. How was your first day? Interesting, she replied, determined not to complain. There's much to learn. Samuel looked at her with understanding. First days are always the hardest, Camilla, but I chose you for a reason. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. As she drove home that night, Camilla reflected on the day. The stares, the whispers, Arthur's condescending attitude, everything indicated that she would have to work twice as hard to earn the respect of her colleagues. But she was fiercely determined to achieve it, no matter the obstacles. What she didn't know was that the rumors were just beginning, and that the coming weeks would test her resolve like never before. What do you think of Arthur's behavior? Is he motivated by personal vendetta, or is there more to his actions? Share your theories below. Part 7. Unmasking the Truth. I need you to review these numbers for tomorrow, Samuel said, placing a thick folder on Camilla's desk. It's the Project Phoenix. If we can find a way to reduce costs without affecting quality, we could win the bid. Camilla took the folder, feeling the weight of the immense responsibility. This project could mean millions for the company, and Samuel had entrusted her to analyze it. "When is the presentation?" she asked, quickly scanning the documents. "In 3 days. The team has been working on this for weeks, but we need fresh eyes, a new perspective." After Samuel left, Camilla plunged into the work. The numbers didn't add up in some areas, and something in the budgets caught her attention, a subtle discrepancy. The deeper she delved, the more inconsistencies she found. Near midnight, when almost everyone had left, she noticed a strange pattern in the material costs. Someone had subtly inflated the prices, so subtly that only a detailed, meticulous analysis could detect it. The next day, as she presented her findings to Samuel, the office door burst open. It was Arthur. "This is unacceptable," he exclaimed, waving some papers. "She's been snooping in confidential files without authorization." "I gave her access," Samuel replied calmly, his voice steady. "But according to protocol, any project review must first go through human resources." Arthur looked at Camilla with disdain. "Unless we now have special rules for certain people." "I found irregularities in the budgets," Camilla intervened, keeping her voice firm, unwavering. "Material costs are systematically inflated. Are you suggesting there's fraud?" Arthur's smile turned dangerous, a chilling, predatory gleam in his eyes. "That's a very serious accusation, especially coming from someone so new." "I'm not accusing anyone," Camilla responded. "I'm just presenting the facts." She spread her analyses across Samuel's desk. Samuel studied the documents in silence, his expression unreadable. "This could have cost us the project," he finally said, his voice grim. "Good work, Camilla." Arthur's face turned crimson, a furious flush. "Mr. Thorne, I suggest we assign someone more experienced to review this, someone who truly understands how things work here." "The decision is made, Arthur," Samuel replied with a tone that allowed no discussion. "Camilla will lead the project review." When Arthur stormed out of the office, furious, Camilla felt a mixture of triumph and profound concern. She had won this battle, but something told her the war had only just begun. "Be careful," Samuel warned softly, his voice low. "You just proved you're more capable than they thought, and that can be dangerous here." Camilla nodded, understanding the unspoken message. Her unexpected competence had just turned her into a direct threat, and Arthur was not the type of person who accepted defeat easily. "What do you think of Arthur's desperate attempt to discredit Camilla? And is Samuel's trust in her enough to protect her?" Share your thoughts below. Part 8. The Price of Integrity. Camilla's success with the Project Phoenix did not go unnoticed. In a few weeks, her professional reputation began to soar, but with it also grew the whispers and rumors about her relationship with Samuel. "Did you see how he looks at her in meetings?" one employee whispered in the ladies' room, not noticing Camilla was in one of the cubicles. "My cousin works in HR and says Arthur has proof they're dating. That's why she got the job." Camilla emerged from the cubicle, causing both women to flush and quickly hurry away. She looked at herself in the mirror, taking a deep breath to maintain her composure. Things worsened when Samuel began to assign her more and more important projects. Every time she entered his office for a meeting, the stares and murmurs intensified, growing bolder. "Mr. Thorne," she said one day, after a particularly tense meeting, "perhaps you should assign the Project Nightingale to another analyst." Samuel looked at her, surprised. "Why? Your work has been exceptional. Exceptional. The rumors are affecting team dynamics. Some believe I receive preferential treatment. And since when do you care what others say? Since it affects my ability to do my job, Mr. Thorne. No one wants to openly collaborate with me. They fear any mistake will go directly to your ears through me. Samuel stood and walked to the window, thoughtful. Do you know why I chose you, Camilla? Not just for your competence, but for your integrity. Don't let gossip make you doubt yourself or your worth. At that moment, Arthur appeared at the door. Oh, pardon me. Am I interrupting something intimate? He murmured with a cynical smile. We were discussing Project Nightingale, Camilla replied coldly. Of course, the project. Arthur smiled maliciously. By the way, there are disturbing rumors circulating. As head of human resources, it's my duty to investigate any inappropriate relationships. Samuel turned, his face hardening. Are you questioning my professional judgment, Arthur? Just doing my job, sir. Employees are concerned about obvious favoritism. Camilla felt the air grow heavy. The tension between the three was palpable. If you'll excuse me, she said, standing up, I have another meeting pending. As she left, she overheard two employees whispering, See? She was alone with him again. That night, working late, Camilla wondered how much longer she could endure this situation. Not only her professional reputation was at stake, but also Samuel's. And the worst part was that, deep down, she was beginning to acknowledge that her feelings for him were no longer purely professional. What will Camilla do to stop the rumors? Will Samuel intervene to protect her or let her fight her own battle? Share your predictions below. Part 9. The truth prevails. Camilla arrived early that morning, determined to confront the situation head-on. She found Arthur in the coffee room, pouring his usual espresso. We need to talk, she said, closing the door behind her. Arthur smiled with that sneer she had learned to despise. Are you finally going to confess your affair with the boss? Why are you doing this, Arthur? Did I hurt you so much that you need to destroy my career? Destroy your career? He laughed sarcastically. You're doing a fine job of that yourself, darling. Or do you think no one notices how your eyes light up when he enters a room? Camilla felt herself blush, but she maintained her firm posture. This has nothing to do with Samuel. This is between you and me. You're wrong, dear, Arthur retorted, stepping closer. This is about how the real world works. Do you think you can just waltz in here, get a position out of pity, and expect everyone to respect you? I got this position because of my ability, and you know it. Ability? He let out a bitter laugh. You're as naive as ever. In this world, talent isn't enough. It's about connections, politics, knowing how to play the game. Not everyone is like you, Arthur. No. And that's why I'm still here after all these years. While you, well, let's see how long you last when the novelty wears off. Camilla took a step forward, confronting him directly. You want war? Fine. But remember, I'm not the waitress you met years ago. I've worked too hard to let your games destroy me. War? Arthur put his cup down on the table. Darling, this is just beginning. Do you think finding some irregularities in Project Phoenix makes you untouchable? Just wait and see. Is that a threat? Take it as professional advice. This world isn't for naive people like you. Sooner or later, everyone falls. You're wrong, Camilla responded, heading for the door. Not all of us are as cynical as you. We'll see, Arthur smiled. Time will tell who's right. As Camilla left the coffee room, she felt a mixture of rage and grim determination. She knew Arthur wouldn't stop, but she also knew she wasn't the same person he had known years ago. This time, she was prepared to fight. What she didn't know was that Arthur already had a plan in motion, one that would test not only her professional strength, but also her personal integrity. What do you think of Camilla's defiance? Is she strong enough to defeat Arthur's schemes? Share your thoughts below. The annual presentation to the executive board was the most important event of the quarter. Camilla had worked for weeks preparing the numbers for the Project Aurora, meticulously checking every detail. The boardroom was packed. The highest-level executives occupied their seats as Samuel began the meeting. Camilla noticed Arthur's peculiar smirk across the table, but decided to ignore it. As you can see on page 3 of the report, Camilla began, projecting her graphs. Our projections show a 45% increase in. Suddenly, the numbers on the screen didn't match her notes. Confused, she moved to the next slide. The data was completely different from what she had prepared. "Miss Hayes," one of the directors interrupted, his voice sharp. "These numbers are alarming. According to this, the project is generating millions in losses." Camilla felt the color drain from her face. "There must be a mistake. My analysis showed—" "A mistake?" Arthur intervened, feigning concern. "I have the original files you sent me yesterday. The numbers match exactly what we're seeing." "That's impossible," Camilla protested, frantically searching her computer. "My files. The board doesn't have time for amateur mistakes," another director said, his voice dismissive. "Mr. Thorne, did you entrust the review of a project of this magnitude to an inexperienced analyst?" Samuel remained silent, his expression unreadable. Murmurs filled the room as Camilla desperately tried to explain the situation. "I propose that we suspend Miss Hayes while we investigate this incident," Arthur suggested, his voice oily. "As head of human resources, I must express my concern about the lack of rigor in her work." "I second the motion," said one of the directors. Camilla looked at Samuel, who finally spoke. "Camilla, by protocol, I must take temporary measures while we investigate, but this does not mean I believe you are guilty. I will personally review the files, and I want you to trust that I will find the truth." The world seemed to stop for Camilla. She gathered her things in silence, acutely aware of all the eyes on her. As she left the room, she caught Arthur's triumphant smirk. In her office, as she packed her belongings, Brenda appeared at the door. "It wasn't you, dear," the accountant said in a low voice. "I saw someone enter your office last night after you left. Can you prove it?" Brenda shook her head. The floor cameras were manually disabled from the internal system. Arthur, as head of HR, had access privileges to modify records without raising suspicion. Camilla nodded, understanding the magnitude of the trap. As she left the building, she knew this wasn't the end. Somehow, she would find a way to prove her innocence and unmask Arthur. But for now, everything she had fought for seemed to crumble around her. Part 11. The fight for truth. The days following the suspension were the hardest for Camilla. Confined to her apartment, she replayed the events over and over in her mind, desperately searching for a way to prove her innocence. Her phone constantly buzzed with messages from former colleagues, some offering support, others simply curious for gossip. Sarah visited her every day, bringing food and trying to keep her spirits up. "You can't stay cooped up here forever, Cam," Sarah insisted one afternoon. "Go out, clear your head a bit." "What for? My career is ruined. Who's going to hire someone accused of negligence on a multi-million-pound project?" At that moment, her phone vibrated with a message from an unknown number. "The cameras on the 35th floor were working that night. Look for David in security." Camilla sat bolt upright. "Sarah, can I borrow your car?" As she drove towards Sterling Enterprises, her mind raced. If the cameras on the 35th floor had captured something, maybe there was a chance. In the car park, she found David, the night security guard, who always greeted her when she worked late. "Miss Hayes," he said nervously, looking around furtively. "You shouldn't be here." "David, I need your help. I know the cameras on the 35th floor were working the night before the presentation. I can't. They could fire me." "Please," Camilla pleaded, her voice desperate. "My career is at stake. I just need to see the recordings from that night." David hesitated for a moment. "The system makes automatic backups every night. Not even Arthur can erase them all. As they reviewed the recordings in the small security room, Camilla held her breath. And there it was, a figure entering her office at 11:43 p.m. Can you zoom in? The image was blurry, but unmistakable. Arthur, manipulating her computer. I need a copy of this, Camilla said. I can't give it to you, David replied. But, he subtly pointed to his phone. Camilla understood and discreetly recorded the screen with her mobile. Back in her car, her hands trembled with emotion. She had the proof, but she needed to be careful. Knowing Arthur, he probably had more tricks up his sleeve. Her phone rang. It was Samuel. I need to see you, he said without preamble. There's something you need to know. Camilla looked at the recording on her phone and took a deep breath. The game wasn't over, and now she had the cards to counterattack. But first, she needed to know what information Samuel had. The truth was about to come to light, and this time, she was prepared to face the consequences. Part 12. The Reckoning. Samuel's office was in semi-darkness when Camilla arrived. It was late, and the building was almost empty. She found him sitting behind his desk, reviewing some documents with a serious expression. I found something interesting, Samuel said, without looking up. It seems someone has been systematically manipulating company records for months. Camilla sat opposite him. I also discovered something, she said, showing him the video on her phone. Samuel watched the recording in silence. This confirms my suspicions. Arthur not only tampered with your files, he's been diverting funds from several projects, including Project Phoenix. Is that why you asked me to review it? I had my doubts about him for some time, but I needed someone I could trust to detect the irregularities without raising suspicion. At that moment, the door burst open. Arthur entered, his face disfigured by rage. Well, well, how interesting, Arthur murmured with a cynical smile. Just when I start investigating irregularities in the company, suddenly I become the villain of the story. How convenient, wouldn't you say? Behind him entered 2 financial police officers and several members of the executive board. Mr. Evans, one of the agents said, we have some questions about certain suspicious transactions. I don't know what you're talking about, Arthur replied, paling. Everything I did was under company policy. Including the diversion of £3 million, Samuel asked, projecting some documents onto the meeting room screen. Or the manipulation of files to incriminate other employees? Arthur looked at Camilla with hatred. She's not as innocent as you think. She's sleeping with the boss. The security cameras tell a different story, one of the directors intervened, as do the system access logs. The agents approached Arthur. Mr. Evans, you'll have to come with us. As they escorted him out, Arthur yelled, This won't stand. You'll all pay for this. The silence that followed was broken by Samuel. Camilla, on behalf of the board and myself, I owe you an apology. Your suspension is lifted immediately. The directors, one by one, approached to apologize as well. When everyone left, Camilla and Samuel were left alone. Why didn't you tell me you suspected him from the beginning? She asked. I needed your reaction to be genuine. If you had known, Arthur might have caught on. Camilla nodded, finally understanding the full picture. The truth had come to light, and with it, a new stage began in her professional life. What she didn't know was that this victory would also mark the beginning of something more between her and Samuel, something they had both been trying to ignore for weeks. What do you think of this dramatic confrontation? Will Arthur's threats come to fruition? Share your thoughts below. Part 13. A new chapter. A new love. The news of Arthur's arrest spread through the company like wildfire. The corridors buzzed with conversations about the fraud, the manipulations, and his spectacular downfall. Camilla, reinstated in her position, noticed how the glances had changed, from suspicion to respect, from disdain to admiration. "I always knew there was something dodgy about that fellow," Brenda commented as they had coffee. "The way he became head of human resources so quickly. The investigation revealed more than anyone expected. Arthur had not only diverted funds, but had also been blackmailing other employees and manipulating contracts for years." One morning, while Camilla reviewed reports in her office, Samuel's assistant handed her an envelope. Inside was a resignation letter from Arthur, along with a handwritten note. "You won this battle, Camilla. Enjoy your victory while you can. Life takes many turns." The veiled threat did not go unnoticed. Samuel called an emergency meeting. "Arthur has been formally charged," he announced to the executives. "But we must ensure that something like this never happens again. We need to completely restructure the Human Resources Department." The following days were a whirlwind of activity. Camilla was assigned to lead the internal audit team, meticulously reviewing every project Arthur had been involved in. One afternoon, as she left the building, she saw Arthur on the news. He was being escorted out of his house in handcuffs, while reporters shouted questions about the corporate fraud. "It's a shame, isn't it?" a voice said behind her. It was Samuel. "Not really," Camilla responded. "He chose this path. You know, when I hired him years ago, I saw potential in him. But power and ambition corrupted him." Camilla thought about how Arthur had changed since she met him, how the idealistic young man had transformed into a ruthless manipulator. "Sometimes people aren't what they seem," she reflected. "And sometimes they are exactly what they seem," Samuel replied, looking at her significantly. Arthur's case became a media scandal. The company's shares suffered temporarily, but Samuel's swift response and the transparency in managing the crisis helped restore confidence. Weeks later, during a board meeting, Camilla presented the final audit report. The losses had been considerable, but recoverable. More importantly, they had implemented new controls to prevent future fraud. As she closed that dark chapter, Camilla couldn't help but think of the irony. Arthur, in his desperate attempt to destroy her, had ended up opening the way to a brighter future for her. What she didn't know was that this future would bring with it challenges and decisions that would test not only her career, but also her heart. What do you think of Arthur's downfall, and how has this experience brought Camilla and Samuel closer? Share your thoughts below. Part 14. The Unspoken Truth. It was a Friday afternoon when Samuel called Camilla to his office. The sun was setting over the city, bathing everything in golden tones. The tension of the past few weeks had given way to a different kind of calm, a more intimate one. "How's everything with the new team?" Samuel asked, offering her a seat in the lounge area of his office, away from the formal desk. "Better than expected. People are more engaged now, more honest." Samuel nodded, absently fiddling with his watch. "Camilla, there's something I need to tell you." She felt her heart race. For weeks they had been dancing around something unspoken, of glances that lasted a second longer than necessary, of smiles that hid more than professional courtesy. "From the day you helped me in the street, without knowing who I was, I knew you were different," Samuel began, his voice soft but firm. "Your integrity, your strength, they captivated me from the very beginning." Camilla felt breathless. "Samuel, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you," he continued, moving slightly closer. "And not just as an employee or colleague. I know it's complicated, that there are company policies, that people will talk." "They'll always talk," Camilla interrupted softly. "They already did before, remember?" Samuel smiled. "And that doesn't scare you?" "It scares me more not to be honest with myself." Camilla stood, walking towards the window. "These past few months have been intense. I've fought so hard to prove my professional worth that I refuse to admit what I felt. And what do you feel? That every time you enter a room, my heart races. that I admire not just the CEO, but the man you are. But, she hesitated. But you're afraid people will think that's why you're here, Samuel completed, understanding her perfectly. I need to be sure that I got here on my own merits. Samuel approached, maintaining a respectful distance. Camilla, you've proven your worth 1,000 times over. You uncovered the fraud. You confronted Arthur. You earned everyone's respect. No one can question that. They looked at each other in silence, the air charged with possibilities. I'm not asking for an answer now, Samuel finally said. I just wanted you to know how I feel. The rest, well, time will tell. Camilla nodded, grateful for his understanding. As she left the office, a smile spread across her lips. For the first time in a long time, she felt she could be both professional and a woman, without having to sacrifice one thing for the other. The sun was setting over the city, and with it, a chapter of her life closed, while another, more promising, began to be written. What do you think of Samuel's confession? Is Camilla ready to embrace a romantic relationship with him? Share your thoughts below. Part 15. A love story, unfolding after several months supporting the restructuring following Arthur's scandal. Camilla proved to be a key player in the transformation of Sterling Enterprises, earning a strategic position in the new compliance management. Her team was now one of the most respected, and her name was frequently mentioned in board meetings as an example of strong leadership. One afternoon, while reviewing some reports, she received a message from Samuel. Dinner tonight? There's something I want to discuss with you. The restaurant he chose was at the top of a historic building with panoramic views of the city. When Camilla arrived, Samuel was already waiting at a secluded table. I have a proposal for you, he said after they ordered. The board wants to create a new compliance department. We need someone with your experience and ethics to lead it. Camilla looked at him, surprised. Are you offering me a promotion? I'm offering you what you've earned, Samuel replied, his eyes twinkling. But there's something else I want to tell you. He pulled a small box from his pocket and placed it on the table. It's not what you think, he smiled, seeing Camilla's surprised expression. These are the keys to my country house in Surrey. This weekend, I'm having a party for some close friends. I'd like you to come as my partner. Camilla felt her heart race. Are you sure? That would make us public. It's been 6 months since Arthur's case. You've more than proven your worth. We don't have to hide anymore. Camilla took the keys, thoughtful. You know, when I started at the company, I was so afraid that people would think I got the job for the wrong reasons. And now you're one of the most respected executives, Samuel completed, his gaze warm and steady. What I feel for you has nothing to do with your position in the company. I admire you for who you are, Camilla. They looked at each other across the table, years of shared experiences reflecting in their eyes. Camilla took a deep breath and looked at the keys on the table. Samuel, this is important to me. I don't want people to think I'm here because of you and not my work. Take your time, he replied with a slight smile. But I want you to know that this has nothing to do with your position in the company. If you ever decide you want more, I'll be here. Always. Samuel smiled, taking her hand across the table. You know what's most ironic? All this started because you stopped to help a stranger in the street. Sometimes the best decisions are the ones we make without thinking, Camilla added, just following our hearts. The city sparkled below them, a silent witness to their unfolding story. Camilla thought about everything she had been through, the initial humiliation, the fight to prove herself, Arthur's betrayal, and now this. Every challenge had made her stronger, every victory more certain of who she was. The future stretched before her, bright and promising, and for the first time in her life, Camilla was ready to embrace both professional success and love, without fear of what others might think. Part 16. the true definition of success. 6 months later, Camilla observed the city from her new office on the 39th floor. The glass walls allowed her to see the coming and going of employees, many of whom now greeted her with genuine respect and admiration. On her desk, a small photo showed her alongside Samuel at the Surrey party, both smiling genuinely at the camera. That day had marked a turning point in their relationship, both personal and professional. Rumors had surfaced, of course, but this time they were different. They spoke of her efficiency, of how she had transformed the compliance department, of her unquestionable integrity. Brenda entered her office with a cup of coffee. "Ready for the board meeting?" "More than ready," Camilla replied, gathering her documents. "The new internal control system is working better than expected." As they walked towards the boardroom, Camilla remembered her first presentation, the one Arthur had tried to sabotage. Now, a year later, the company was a different place. Employees felt safe to report irregularities. The work environment had improved, and transparency was the new norm. In the boardroom, Samuel greeted her with a professional smile, though his eyes sparkled with something more. Their relationship had become an open secret, respected by all due to the way they both handled the situation. Always professional at work, always transparent in their decisions. "We received a letter last week," Samuel commented after the meeting when they were alone. "Arthur is being released from prison in a month." Camilla nodded, without feeling the fear that name once provoked. "He can't hurt us anymore. You know, sometimes I think about that day when you stopped to help me in the street," Samuel mused. "A simple act of kindness that changed so many lives." "The best stories begin that way," Camilla smiled, "with small decisions that turn out to be monumental." From the boardroom window, they could see the exact spot where everything had begun. The city stretched before them, vibrant and full of possibilities, just like their future together. "Ready for dinner with the investors tonight?" Samuel asked. "Ready," Camilla responded, gathering her things. "But this time, I'll make sure to help any stranger I see along the way." They both laughed, sharing a knowing glance. Life had taught them that sometimes the best plans are the ones they don't plan, and that true success isn't about reaching the top, but about how they choose to climb. As they left the office together, Camilla knew she had found something more valuable than professional success. She had found her true place in the world, both personally and professionally. And it had all begun with a simple decision to do the right thing. Has this story of love, overcoming adversity, and justice in the corporate world captivated you? Camilla's story shows us that doing the right thing, even when it seems difficult at the time, always brings unexpected rewards. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that will make you believe in the power of integrity and true love. I'd love to know where in the world you're enjoying this story from. What country are you joining us from today? Leave it in the comments along with your thoughts on Camilla and Samuel's destiny. Do you think their professional love story could happen in real life? Your opinion is very important to our community.